I was 52 years old the day I realized my son might live the rest of his life without ever speaking to me again. And the worst part was, I couldn't blame him. The silence between us had lasted almost 9 years by then. 9 birthdays, 9 Christmas mornings, 9 times I picked up the phone and put it back down again. I truly believed I had failed as a father, until the night I heard my name in a place I never expected. If you've ever loved someone and watched them slowly slip out of your life, stay with me. And maybe tell me in the comments if you've ever wished for one more chance. 9 years earlier, my son Daniel slammed my front door so hard the glass rattled. He was 23 at the time, angry, stubborn, and convinced I had ruined his life. Looking back, maybe I had. I was the kind of father who believed love meant discipline, structure, responsibility. I worked 30 years as a warehouse supervisor outside Columbus, Ohio. Early mornings, late shifts, double overtime when money got tight. I told myself I was doing it for my family. But Daniel didn't see sacrifice. He saw absence. Have you ever worked so hard for your family that you accidentally pushed them away? When he was growing up, I rarely made his baseball games. I missed school plays, parent-teacher conferences. Even one birthday party I promised I'd attend. I always had a reason. There was always a shift that needed covering, bills that needed paying, a future that needed building. But that future came at a cost I didn't understand until it was too late. Daniel wanted to study graphic design in college. I told him no. I said it wasn't practical. I said he needed a real job. I insisted he enroll in a local trade program instead. He tried for a year. Then one night he stood in my kitchen, same kitchen where I'd raised him, and said something I'll never forget. "You never wanted a son," he said. "You wanted a project." That sentence stayed with me longer than any silence ever could. Would you have stood your ground? Or listened? That was the night he left. After that, the house got quiet in a way I wasn't prepared for. Not peaceful quiet, heavy quiet, the kind that presses on your chest at night. My wife Ellen tried to keep us connected. She sent Daniel texts, birthday cards, care packages. Sometimes he answered her. Never me. When Ellen passed away 5 years ago after a sudden stroke, I called Daniel from the hospital waiting room, straight to voicemail. I left a message anyway. "I know you don't want to hear from me," I said, "but your mom is gone." He didn't come to the funeral. That was the moment I stopped calling. I told myself he had made his choice, but deep down, I knew I had made mine first. Is there a moment in your life you'd rewrite if you could? After Ellen died, the house felt too big. I retired early at 51 because I couldn't stand walking into an empty place every night. I drifted through my days. Coffee at the same diner every morning. Television in the afternoons. Frozen dinners at night. Sometimes weeks passed without anyone saying my name. I started to believe something dangerous. That maybe Daniel was better off without me. That maybe some fathers just aren't meant to be remembered kindly. But that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was seeing fathers and sons together, at the grocery store, at gas stations, at little league fields. Every time I wondered what Daniel's life looked like now. Was he successful? Was he struggling? Did he ever think about me? Would you have reached out, even after all those years? I came close many times. I even wrote letters. Never mailed them. I didn't think I deserved forgiveness. One rainy Tuesday afternoon last spring, I stopped by the public library just to get out of the house. I wandered the aisles with no real purpose until a flyer on a corkboard caught my eye. Local Artists Showcase, Community Center Auditorium, Friday night. Normally I would have ignored it, but something made me pause. Maybe it was the word artists. Daniel used to draw constantly when he was a kid. Sketchbooks everywhere. Dinosaurs, superheroes, buildings he imagined designing someday. I stood there longer than I should have. I wish I had understood sooner. That dreams aren't childish just because we don't understand them. That Friday night, I almost didn't go. I sat in my car outside the community center for 10 minutes arguing with myself. Finally, I walked in. The auditorium smelled like coffee and folding chairs, that familiar small-town gathering smell. People chatted in groups. Paintings lined the walls. Photographs hung on display boards. I kept my head down, moving slowly from piece to piece. Then I saw it. A framed illustration of a small boy sitting at a kitchen table while a man stood in the doorway, half shadow, half light. The title read, "Waiting." Something tightened in my chest, because I recognized that kitchen. It looked exactly like ours. I stepped closer, and that's when everything changed. The announcer stepped onto the small stage and tapped the microphone. "Next, we'd like to recognize one of our featured artists tonight, Daniel Carter." My knees nearly gave out. Daniel walked onto the stage. Older, bearded, thinner than I remembered, but unmistakably my son. For a moment I couldn't breathe. He thanked the audience quietly, nervously. Then he started talking about his work, about growing up, about learning what absence feels like. And then, he said something I never expected. "This next piece is about my father." The room went silent. My heart pounded so hard I thought people could hear it. "I spent a lot of years angry," he said. "I thought he didn't care. I thought he chose work over me." My hands trembled. I wanted to disappear. But then he said, "I understand things differently now." I froze, because the next words changed my life. My father worked long hours to keep us afloat. I didn't see it then. And then, he paused, looked out across the audience, and said, "I don't know if he's here tonight, but if he is, Dad, thank you." For a second I couldn't move. Then before I could stop myself, I stood up. My voice barely worked, but somehow I said it. "It's me, Danny." Heads turned. Daniel stared, and then he said my name. "Mark." Just hearing my name in his voice after 9 years broke something open inside me. After the show, we stood awkwardly near the coffee table like strangers who shared the same memories. Then he hugged me, tight, longer than I expected. "I'm sorry," he said first. "No one had to tell me what to say next." "I'm the one who's sorry." We talked for 2 hours. About everything. About Ellen. About work. About regrets. About the years we lost. He told me he almost didn't include that piece in the show. "I wasn't sure you'd ever see it," he said. "Neither was I." Is it ever too late to fix a broken relationship? Because that night proved something to me. Failure isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the part before understanding. Daniel calls me every Sunday now. Last month he asked me to help him repaint his apartment. Next week we're having dinner together. Real dinners. Not apologies disguised as conversations. I used to believe that by 52 your story was already written. That if you failed as a father, that was permanent. But I was wrong. Because sometimes the moment you think it's over, that's when you finally hear your name again. If the story reminded you of someone you love, tell me in the comments. And if you believe it's never too late to rewrite your story, subscribe for more journeys like this.